Jake Morrison sat in his chair staring at the computer screen. The symbols on the display made no sense to him yet, but they kept coming in waves. For 3 days now, the same message had been repeating over and over again. Each time it played, it seemed more desperate than before. Jake worked at Luna Station, a big space base built on the moon. His job was to study alien languages and try to understand what other species were saying when they sent messages to Earth. Most of the time it was boring work. Trade requests, scientific data, or simple greetings from distant worlds. This message was different. The computer finally made a sound that meant it had figured out the alien language. Jake leaned forward and watched as English words appeared on his screen. What he read made his blood run cold. "Help us. The devourers have come. Our worlds burn. Anyone who receives this, please, we are dying." Jake read the message 3 times to make sure he understood it correctly. Then he pressed the button to call Admiral Helen Carter. She was the person in charge of Earth's Space Defense Fleet. If anyone needed to know about this message, it was her. Admiral Carter arrived at Jake's station within 10 minutes. She was a tall woman with gray hair and serious eyes. Jake had worked with her before, and he knew she never wasted time when something important was happening. "Show me what you found," she said. Jake played the translated message for her. As the words appeared on the screen, Admiral Carter's face became more and more worried. She knew about the Zephyrians. They were a peaceful alien race that lived far away from Earth. They grew food on many different planets and never bothered anyone. They had never asked for help before. "Where is this message coming from?" Admiral Carter asked. "The Kepler 442 star system," Jake replied. "It's about 127 light-years away from Earth. The Zephyrians have their main government there." Before Admiral Carter could respond, Lisa Park rushed over to them. Lisa worked in the communications department and monitored all the radio signals coming from space. Her face was pale and she looked scared. "Admiral, we have a big problem," Lisa said. "We're getting similar messages from 12 other star systems. All of them are in the same area of space. Someone or something is attacking multiple alien civilizations at the same time." Admiral Carter felt a cold feeling in her stomach. This was not just one planet asking for help. This was something much bigger and much worse. She had seen reports about wars between alien species before, but never anything like this. "Show me the map," she ordered. Lisa brought up a display that showed the local part of the galaxy. Red dots marked each system that was sending distress calls. When Admiral Carter saw the pattern, she understood how serious this was. The red dots formed a line moving toward Earth's part of space. "It's not random," Admiral Carter said quietly. "Whatever is doing this is moving in our direction." Jake pulled up more information about the other species sending distress calls. The Helix Collective, known for their beautiful crystal cities. The Verdant Alliance, famous for their garden worlds. The Resonance Republic, who made the best music in the galaxy. All of them were peaceful species. All of them were asking for help. "Admiral," Lisa said, "I'm trying to contact these systems directly, but most of them have gone silent. The last message we got from the Helix Collective was 2 days ago. Before that, they were sending updates every few hours." Admiral Carter made a decision that would change everything. She walked over to the main communication console and opened a direct line to Solar Command on Earth. Within seconds, the face of Fleet Admiral Ryan Bell appeared on the screen. "Helen, what's the situation?" Admiral Bell asked. He could see the worry on Admiral Carter's face. "Sir, we have a Code Black Xenocide event in progress," Admiral Carter said. "Multiple peaceful species are under attack by an unknown enemy. The pattern suggests coordinated strikes across 17 star systems." Admiral Bell was quiet for a moment. Code Black was the highest level of emergency in Earth's military. It meant that an entire species was being wiped out. Earth had created this code after learning about the galaxy's history. Too many peaceful civilizations had been destroyed while everyone else stood by and did nothing. "Send me all the data you have," Admiral Bell said. "I'm calling an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. If what you're telling me is true, we may need to act fast." After the call ended, Admiral Carter stood looking at the star map. Each red dot represented millions or billions of lives in danger. The Zephyrians had been the first to ask for help, but they would not be the last. Jake continued monitoring the alien messages. As time passed, the signals became weaker. Some systems stopped transmitting entirely. Others sent shorter and more desperate messages. One transmission from a species called the Cloud Dancers was just 3 words repeated over and over. Please, help us. Admiral Carter thought about Earth's history. Humans had always been fighters. They had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that would have destroyed other species. When humans saw someone in trouble, they helped. It was just who they were. 6 hours later, the United Earth Council reached their decision. Every representative voted the same way. Earth would help the peaceful aliens. They would send ships, soldiers, and weapons to fight whatever was destroying these civilizations. Admiral Carter received the orders directly from the President of Earth. Admiral, you are authorized to use any and all military resources necessary to stop this threat. The entire human fleet is at your disposal. As Admiral Carter prepared to leave Luna Station, she looked one more time at the alien distress signals. The Zephyrians were still transmitting, but their signal was much weaker than before. Soon they might go silent forever, but not if humanity had anything to say about it. 3 weeks after the first alien distress call, the biggest military fleet in human history gathered at the edge of the solar system. Ships came from every human colony and outpost. Earth sent their newest battleships. Mars contributed their fast attack cruisers. The asteroid belt miners provided their heavy cargo ships converted into troop transports. Fleet Admiral Ryan Bell stood on the bridge of the UES Titan, the largest warship humanity had ever built. The ship was so big that it had its own factories, hospitals, and even small cities inside it. Through the main viewing window, he could see hundreds of other ships stretching out in all directions. Admiral, final count is ready, said Navigation Officer Kevin Torres. We have 800 warships, 12 carrier groups, and 200,000 Marines ready for deployment. Admiral Bell nodded. It was an impressive force, but he wondered if it would be enough. They still did not know much about the enemy they would be fighting. The aliens called them Devourers, which did not sound good. General Patricia Stone walked up to Admiral Bell. She was in charge of all the ground forces for this mission. Her soldiers were trained for fighting on alien worlds, but they had never fought an enemy like this before. Sir, my Marines are ready, General Stone said. We've loaded extra medical supplies and emergency food for the alien survivors we hope to find. Standing nearby was Admiral Helen Carter, who would command the naval forces during combat. She had spent the last 3 weeks studying every piece of information they had about the enemy. It was not much, but it was enough to know this would be dangerous. Intelligence update, called Major Lisa Grant from the tactical station. Our long-range scout ships have reached the outer edge of Zephyrian space. The news is not good. Major Grant put the scout ship data on the main screen. Everyone on the bridge went quiet when they saw the images. The Zephyrian colony of New Garden, which used to be covered in beautiful forests, was now a gray wasteland. Huge machines were digging up the ground and loading the dirt into massive ships. 17 Zephyrian colonies have gone completely silent, Major Grant continued. We're detecting energy signatures that match orbital bombardment weapons. But there's something else. The enemy appears to be changing the atmosphere of these worlds. Admiral Bell felt anger growing inside him. Orbital bombardment was bad enough, but changing a planet's atmosphere meant the attackers were planning to live there themselves. They were not just conquering these worlds. They were stealing them completely. Sir, said Communications Officer Danny Rodriguez, we're receiving a message from Earth. The civilian population wants to help with the mission. Admiral Bell was surprised. Usually civilians stayed out of military operations. What kind of help? The Martian Agricultural Collective has donated their entire food surplus for the year. The Belt Miners Union is providing unlimited rare metals for ammunition. Even the Swiss orbital habitats are sending medical supplies. Admiral Bell smiled for the first time in weeks. This was why he was proud to be human. When someone needed help, everyone pitched in to do their part. All ships, this is Admiral Bell, he announced over the fleet communication system. Today we face an enemy that believes might makes right. They think the strong can simply destroy the weak without consequences. They picked the wrong galaxy to test that theory. Captain Nicole Webb listened to the Admiral's speech from the bridge of her ship, the UES Ranger. Her crew had been together for 5 years, and they had never faced anything like this before. But they were ready. Humanity does not just protect our own people, Admiral Bell continued. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. The enemy has made a mistake. They think they can destroy peaceful civilizations while we stand by and watch. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Lieutenant Chris Palmer checked his instruments one more time. The quantum tunnel generators were charged and ready. These devices could move the entire fleet across hundreds of light years in just a few hours. It was humanity's greatest advantage in space warfare. All ships report ready for quantum tunnel jump, announced electronic warfare specialist Amy Clark. Destination: Kepler 442 star system. Admiral Bell looked around the bridge at his officers. These men and women had volunteered to travel hundreds of light years to fight for aliens they had never met. They were risking their lives for people they knew nothing about, except that those people needed help. Before we jump, Admiral Bell said, I want everyone to understand something. We are not going to negotiate with these devourers. We are not going to try to make a deal with them. We are going to stop them, completely. The bridge crew nodded. They had all seen the images of the destroyed worlds. There would be no mercy for creatures that could do such things to peaceful civilizations. Sir, said Commander Steve Murphy from the fighter squadron, what are our rules of engagement? Admiral, Bell's answer was simple. Any ship that fires on civilian targets or refuses to surrender will be destroyed. Any ship that tries to run away will be hunted down. We are not here to win a battle. We are here to end a war. As the countdown to the quantum jump began, messages started coming in from other human colonies. The people of Europa Station sent good luck wishes. The miners of Titan promised to have victory celebrations ready when the fleet returned. Children from the orbital schools around Jupiter sent drawings of spaceships defeating monsters. 10 seconds to jump, announced Kevin Torres. Admiral Bell thought about the alien distress call that had started all of this. A peaceful species had cried for help, and humanity had answered by sending everything they had. 800 warships, 12 carrier groups, and 200,000 of their best soldiers. 5 seconds to jump. The Devourers had probably never faced an enemy. Like humanity before, most species in the galaxy were peaceful. They tried to solve problems with words instead of weapons. When someone attacked them, they usually just gave up or ran away. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The stars outside the viewing windows suddenly stretched into long lines of light. The quantum tunnel generators created a hole in space itself, allowing the fleet to travel faster than the speed of light. In a few hours, they would arrive at the Kepler 442 system. Admiral Bell hoped they would not be too late to save some of the Zephyrians. But even if they were, the Devourers would pay for what they had done. Humanity was coming, and they were bringing everything they had. The human fleet appeared in the Kepler 442 star system like thunder from a clear sky. One moment the space around the Zephyrian worlds was empty, and the next moment 800 human warships filled the darkness. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. Dear God, whispered sensor operator Danny Rodriguez aboard the UES Valkyrie. He was looking at his screen, but he could not believe what he was seeing. Zephyria Prime, the main world of the peaceful plant-eating aliens, looked like it was dying. The planet that had once been green and blue was now brown and yellow. Huge machines on the surface were tearing up the ground. Massive ships hung in orbit like giant insects, sucking up everything the machines dug out of the planet. Captain Nicole Webb received the first detailed report from her scout ships. Admiral Bell, we are detecting major changes to the planet's atmosphere. The oxygen levels have dropped by 60%. The temperature has increased by 15 degrees. They are not just mining the planet, they are changing it into something else. Admiral Bell felt sick as he looked at the data. The Zephyrians needed oxygen to breathe, just like humans did. If the oxygen was almost gone, then most of the aliens were probably dead already. Contact, announced Lieutenant Chris Palmer from his sensor station. Unknown vessel approaching from the dark side of the second moon. It's big, sir. Really big. The enemy ship that appeared before them was unlike anything in human design books. It looked like someone had mixed a living creature with a machine. Parts of it seemed to be made of metal, but other parts looked like they were growing and changing. Strange lights pulsed along its sides like a heartbeat. That thing is 3 times bigger than our largest battleship, said electronic warfare specialist Amy Clark. But the construction does not make sense. It looks like it was grown instead of built. Admiral Bell studied the alien ship carefully. It moved in a way that reminded him of a shark swimming through water, smooth and deadly, but also patient, like it was deciding whether the human fleet was worth its time. We are being scanned, reported Amy Clark. But this is not normal scanning technology. They are using some kind of mental probe. I am detecting multiple consciousness patterns aboard that ship, but they do not seem natural. Admiral Helen Carter felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean, not natural? The mental patterns are artificial, like computer programs, but they are based on real alien minds. I think they took the minds of living beings and turned them into computer software. The horrible truth hit everyone at the same time. The Devourers were not just killing the alien species they conquered. They were stealing their minds and using them to make their ships smarter. Every enemy vessel was powered by the stolen thoughts of dead civilizations. Admiral, said Communications Officer Lisa Park, we are receiving a transmission from the enemy ship. Put it on the main screen, Admiral Bell ordered. The image that appeared was horrible to look at. It showed what had once been a Zephyrian, but now the alien was connected to machines by cables and wires. Its eyes were gone, replaced by glowing sensors. When it spoke, its voice was mixed with the sounds of computers and electronic noise. Unknown vessels, you have entered Devourer space. Your technology will be absorbed. Your biological matter will be processed. Your consciousness will serve the collective. Resistance is inefficient. The signal cut off, leaving the human fleet in silence. Admiral Bell was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke in a voice that was calm, but full of anger. All ships, battle, stations. These things are not going to negotiate. They are not going to show mercy. They are going to try to do to us what they did to the Zephyrians. Sir, said Major Lisa Grant, we are detecting more enemy ships. 12 vessels are approaching from different directions. They are trying to surround us. General Patricia Stone stepped forward. Admiral, my Marines are ready for boarding actions. If we can capture one of their ships, we might be able to learn how to save some of the stolen mines. Admiral Bell nodded. Do it. But be careful. We do not know what other surprises these things might have. The first Devourer attack came without warning. A beam of energy shot out from the largest enemy ship and hit the UES Ranger. But instead of trying to destroy the human ship, the beam seemed to be trying to scan it more deeply. They are attempting some kind of neural attack, reported Captain Webb. They are broadcasting something directly into our minds. Suddenly, every human in the fleet heard the same horrible sound. It was the voices of millions of aliens, all crying out in pain and fear. The Devourers were using the stolen minds as a weapon, trying to drive the human crews insane with the screams of their victims. But something unexpected happened. Instead of being afraid, the human crews became angry. Very angry. Sir, said Pilot Officer Rachel Brooks, their mental attack is not working. It is just making our people mad. Admiral Bell smiled grimly. Humans had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day for millions of years. They had survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, diseases and natural disasters that would have wiped out most other species. A few alien voices screaming. In their heads was nothing compared to what humans dealt with in their nightmares. All ships begin the attack, Admiral Bell ordered. Show these things what happens when they mess with the wrong species. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Laser cannons, missile launchers, and particle beam weapons all focused on the enemy ships. The space around Zephyria, Prime lit up like a deadly fireworks show. The Devourers fought back, but their weapons seemed designed for fighting weaker enemies. Their energy beams were powerful, but they moved slowly. Human ships dodged them easily. Enemy ship taking damage, reported Lieutenant Palmer. Their hull seems to be made of some kind of living metal, but it is not very strong. Admiral Bell realized something important. The Devourers had been winning their wars by scaring their enemies and using superior numbers. They had never fought anyone who hit back as hard as humans could. Focus fire on the largest ship, he ordered. Let us see how tough they really are. 6 human battleships turned all their weapons on the main Devourer vessel. The combined firepower was enormous. The alien ship tried to retreat, but it was too slow. Within minutes, it was drifting in space, dead and powerless. Sir, said Commander Steve Murphy, the other enemy ships are retreating. They are heading for the outer system. Admiral Bell was not surprised. Bullies usually ran away when someone stood up to them. Do not let them escape, he said. Follow them. We need to find out where they came from and how many more of them there are. As the human fleet chased the fleeing Devourers, Admiral Bell looked back at the damaged planet below. Somewhere down there, some Zephyrians might still be alive. His job was to save them and make sure the Devourers never hurt anyone again. The first real battle between humans and Devourers lasted 14 hours and changed everything. The alien creatures had conquered 17 different species using the same tactics every time. They would arrive at a peaceful world, broadcast the screams of their previous victims to terrify the population, then use their superior technology to crush any resistance. They had never fought anyone from a death world before. Commander Steve Murphy led the first attack squadron as they chased the fleeing Devourer ships toward the outer edge of the star system. His pilots had trained for years to fight in space, but this was their first real battle against an alien enemy. All fighters, this is Murphy, he said over the radio. Stay close to your wingmen. We do not know what tricks these things might have. As his squadron got closer to the enemy ships, the Devourers tried their standard fear attack again. They broadcast the sounds of dying aliens directly into human minds, hoping to drive the pilots crazy with terror. Sir, they are doing that screaming thing again, reported Pilot Officer Rachel Brooks. Her voice was calm and steady. It is actually kind of pathetic after all the horror movies we watch for fun. Commander Murphy almost laughed. Humans had been scaring themselves with stories of monsters and ghosts for thousands of years. They made movies about zombies, aliens, demons, and every other kind of horror they could imagine. The screams of dead aliens were terrible, but they were not worse than what humans did to themselves for entertainment. All pilots, ignore the noise, Murphy ordered. Focus on your targets. The human fighters attacked the enemy ships with missiles and laser cannons. The Devourers fired back, but their weapons were designed for fighting peaceful species. They were not ready for enemies who flew like they had nothing to lose. Direct hit on enemy cruiser, called out pilot Jenny Martinez. Their shields are down, moving in for another attack run. But the real surprise came when the human Marines started boarding the Devourer ships. Marine Sergeant Tony Phillips led the first boarding party through the airlock of a damaged enemy vessel. He had trained for fighting in alien environments, but nothing had prepared him for what he found inside. Command, this is Phillips. He radioed back to the main fleet. I do not know how these things conquered anybody. Their gravity is set to 0.3 Earth normal. I feel like I am flying. The Devourers had built their ships for maximum efficiency, not for strength. They came from low-gravity worlds where everything was designed to use as little energy as possible. A normal Devourer weighed about as much as a human child and was just as fragile. Human Marines who had trained their whole lives in Earth's crushing gravity moved through the enemy ship like supernatural beings. They could jump twice, as high as the aliens expected. They could carry weapons that would be too heavy for most other species. They could run for hours without getting tired. Phillips, what is the atmospheric situation? Asked General Stone over the radio. Ma'am, their air is like being on top of a mountain. Thin and hard to breathe for normal people, but we trained for this. Also, these aliens are weak, really weak. I just pushed one of them through a metal wall by accident. The truth was becoming clear. The Devourers were not super soldiers. They were efficient predators who had never met anything that could fight back effectively. They conquered other species by using fear and technology, not physical strength. Lieutenant Commander Sam Carter was commanding the destroyer Houston when a Devourer cruiser tried to ram his ship. The alien vessel was twice as big as the Houston, but it had been built for intimidation, not durability. "Brace for impact," Carter ordered his crew. The enemy ship hit the Houston's armored hull at full speed, but instead of damaging the human ship, the Devourer vessel crumpled like paper. Its living metal hull was designed to repair itself slowly over time, but it could not handle sudden impacts. "Damage report," Carter called out. "Sir, we have some scratched paint on the outer hull," reported his engineering officer. "The enemy ship broke apart completely. We are detecting multiple hull breaches and power failures on their vessel." "Admiral," Bell was watching the battle from the bridge of the Titan. As more reports came in, he began to understand the truth about their enemy. The Devourers were not invincible. They were just bullies who had never met anyone willing to punch back. "Admiral," said Major Grant, "we are detecting something interesting. The Devourer ships are trying to retreat to a larger vessel hidden behind the gas giant. It appears to be some kind of mobile base or factory ship." "How big?" Admiral Bell asked. "Approximately 50 times the size of our largest battleship. But sir, our analysis suggests it is not a warship. It appears to be designed for processing captured materials and building new ships." Admiral Bell made a decision that would end the war before it really began. "All ships, implement Winchester Protocol. We are not just stopping them. We are ending them." Winchester Protocol was humanity's plan for total warfare. It meant using every weapon they had to completely destroy the enemy's ability to fight. No prisoners, no negotiations, complete elimination of the threat. The human fleet surrounded the giant Devourer factory ship. It was so big that it had its own gravity and atmosphere. Millions of stolen alien minds were probably imprisoned inside it, being used as computer processors for the Devourer's war machine. "Sir," said Admiral Carter, "if we destroy that ship, we might kill all the alien minds trapped inside." "Admiral," Bell was quiet for a moment. He did not want to kill innocent aliens, but he also could not let the Devourers escape to hurt more peaceful species. "Prepare boarding parties," he ordered. "We go in, save who we can, and then we destroy that thing completely." What happened next became known as the liberation of the factory ship. 2,000 human Marines fought their way through 50 levels of Devourer defenses. They found thousands of captured aliens being used as living computers. They found cloning, facilities where the Devourers were trying to create more soldiers. They found processing plants where entire worlds were being turned into raw materials. But most importantly, they found the central control system where the stolen minds of billions of aliens were being held prisoner. "This is it," said Sergeant Phillips as his team reached the core of the ship. "This is where they keep all the stolen souls." The humans worked for 6 hours to free the trapped alien minds and transfer them to human computer systems. It was dangerous work, but they managed to save most of them. Then they planted nuclear charges throughout the factory ship and left. The explosion could be seen from 3 star systems away. The biggest Devourer ship in the galaxy, along with their ability to build new vessels, was gone forever. Admiral Bell received the final report from his boarding teams. "Sir, we have successfully recovered the consciousness patterns of approximately 4 billion alien beings. Our computer specialists think they can restore most of them to new bodies." For the first time since the mission began, Admiral Bell smiled. "Good work, everyone. Now let us go find the rest of these Devourers and finish what we started." 6 months after the first human ship entered Devourer space, the war was completely over. It had not ended with a peace treaty or negotiations. It had ended because humanity had hunted down every single Devourer ship, base, and outpost across 4 star systems and destroyed them all. Dr. Beth Morgan stood in what used to be a Devourer processing facility on Zephyria Prime. Around her, human engineering teams were working day and night to repair the damage done to the planet. Giant machines were pumping oxygen back into the atmosphere. Special plants from Earth were being used to clean the poisoned soil. "It is amazing," she said into her recording device. The Devourers were not actually an advanced species at all. They were parasites. They had stolen the knowledge and technology from dozens of conquered civilizations. When we took away their stolen minds, they were actually quite primitive. Dr. Morgan was a scientist who studied alien biology. Her job was to figure out how the Devourers had worked and how to undo the damage they had caused. What she had learned would change how the galaxy thought about them forever. Their own technology was very basic, she continued. They could build simple tools and weapons, but everything else came from the species they had conquered. The Helix Collective had provided their crystal-based computers. The Verdant Alliance had given them biological ship components. The Resonance Republic had taught them how to coordinate their fleets. The rescued Zephyrians had asked to meet with the human leadership. They wanted to thank the people who had saved their species from complete extinction. The meeting took place aboard the UES Titan, with all the proper ceremonies and protocols. Prime Minister Veltar was the leader of the Zephyrian people. He had been one of the aliens whose mind was stolen by the Devourers and used to power their ships. Human scientists had managed to restore him to a new cloned body, but the experience had changed him forever. Admiral Bell, Veltar said, his translator making his words sound emotional. When we sent that distress call into space, we hoped that maybe someone would hear us. Perhaps they would negotiate with the Devourers or offer them tribute to spare a few of our colonies. We never imagined that anyone would come to fight for us. Admiral Bell looked at the alien leader with respect. The Zephyrians were a peaceful people who had never hurt anyone. They had spent thousands of years growing food and sharing it with other species. They did not deserve what had happened to them. You called for help, Admiral Bell replied. We do not negotiate with bullies and we do not abandon friends. That is just who we are. His words would become famous throughout the galaxy. Within weeks, every spacefaring species had heard about humanity's response to the Zephyrian distress call. The story spread from world to world, changing how aliens thought about the newcomers from Earth. Captain Laura Hayes was in charge of coordinating the relief efforts across all the liberated worlds. Her ships carried food, medicine, and construction equipment to 17 different star systems. The job was enormous, but humans had volunteered from every colony to help. Final report is ready, she announced to Earth Command. 17 species have been completely liberated from Devourer control. 38 worlds are being restored to their original atmospheric conditions. We have successfully transferred the stored consciousness of over 4 billion beings into new clone bodies. The numbers were staggering. Entire civilizations had been brought back from the dead. Worlds that had been strip-mined were being replanted. Atmospheric processors were cleaning poisoned skies. It was the largest rescue operation in galactic history, but the effects of humanity's actions went far beyond just saving the Devourer's victims. News of the human response had spread throughout known space. 6 different alien species had formally requested mutual defense treaties with Earth. They wanted humanity to promise to help them if they were ever attacked by aggressive neighbors. The predatory Sectar Empire, which had been expanding into peaceful territories for decades, quietly withdrew from 3 disputed border regions. They had heard what humans did to species that attacked innocent civilians, and they did not want to find out if the stories were true. Even the mysterious Consciousness Collective, a group of aliens so advanced that they rarely talked to anyone, sent a message of respect to Earth. They had watched the liberation of the Devourer victims and approved of humanity's actions. The galaxy is changing, reported Ambassador Julie Thompson from the Galactic Relations Office. Before this, most species believed that might made right. If you were strong enough to take something, you could keep it. The powerful species dominated the weak ones, and everyone accepted it as natural. What is different now? Asked President Martinez during their weekly briefing. Now they know that humanity will not accept it, Ambassador Thompson replied. When peaceful beings cry for help, we answer with warships, not to conquer, but to protect, not to enslave, but to liberate. We have changed the rules of how the galaxy works. As the human fleet prepared to return home, they left behind permanent monitoring stations in every system they had liberated. These bases would watch for any signs of new threats and could call for help if needed. They also served as a reminder to potential aggressors that humanity was always watching. Admiral Bell stood on the bridge of the Titan as his fleet prepared for the journey back to Earth. Through the main viewing window, he could see Zephyria, Prime slowly turning green again. The planet would never be exactly the same as it was before, but it would be home to the Zephyrians once more. "Sir," said Communications Officer Lisa Park, "we are receiving messages from all the liberated worlds. They want to thank us one more time before we leave." Admiral Bell smiled. "Put them on the main screen." For the next hour, representatives from 17 different species appeared on the bridge view screen. Some spoke in languages that had almost been lost forever. Others communicated through colors, sounds, or electromagnetic patterns. But all of them had the same message: "Thank you." The last message came from a young Zephyrian named Cathara. She was one of the first aliens to be successfully restored from the Devourer's stolen mind collection. She spoke in simple words that everyone could understand. "Before the Devourers came, I thought the galaxy was a dark and dangerous place," she said. "I thought that only the strong survived and the weak were left to suffer. But then you came. You showed us that there are people who will fight for strangers. You proved that good can triumph over evil if brave souls are willing to stand up." As the human fleet entered quantum tunnel space for the journey home, they left behind more than just monitoring stations and defense platforms. They left behind hope. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. When peaceful beings called for help, the humans from the death world called Sul would answer. They would bring their powerful ships and their fearless soldiers. They would fight against impossible odds to protect people they had never met. The Devourers were gone, destroyed so completely that even their technology had been wiped out. But their legacy lived on in the memory of what happened when they made the fatal mistake of threatening innocent civilizations while humanity was watching. And humanity was always watching. From that day forward, every aggressive species in the galaxy would have to ask themselves one question before they attacked. Peaceful worlds. Are we ready to face the humans? Most of them decided they were not.